everybody, Jacqueline here, and welcome to my first of the coronavirus video series. Let's see how we go and and what comes up, and I welcome any questions and feedback on these video series that I'll be recording from time to time. I've held off until now because there have been just a plethora of resources and strategies provided online from a multitude of people providing some good and some not so good ways to deal with the coronavirus and how it might be impacting on you, and particularly also being mindful of our children as well. So some of the things that I'll talk to you about in here will be about how you yourselves can cope better during this time, and some strategies to remind you of that you've been learning about in your Save My Marriage program, your coaching program, or one of the other modules that you might have been doing with me. So I'll provide you with some advice and support along the way, and please email me and let me know how you're finding this series, any questions that you might have, any further resources that you might be wanting at this time. I know that for many of you this is really challenging, as many of you have lost your job or are beginning to do work from home. Welcome to my world. And some of you are experiencing something really different for you as well, in that you haven't before been in this situation. Well, none of us have, but you haven't been in a situation for a prolonged period of time where it's just you and your partner, or you and your husband or wife and the kids for an uncertain amount of time on a day-to-day basis, and on top of that being socially isolated from extended family and friends and all the other things that I guess that probably we're all guilty of taking for granted, and that we were able to enjoy until as much as just a week ago. We were able to go down the pub for tea, or go and meet with friends for coffee and that sort of stuff. And with all of these socialization activities and things that we are able to participate in sporting and all those kinds of things that we enjoyed on a day-to-day basis, and one by one these being taken away from us, and the grief and loss that we experience, shouldn't be underestimated, the impact that this is having on us as well. It's very natural that the fear, the anxiety, the apprehension, the worry that you are experiencing on a day-to-day basis is because of all of these things, the cumulative effects. It's not just one area of your life or anybody else's that's being impacted on. So I am noticing when I'm talking to family and friends and different loved ones that I am hearing in their voice that uncertainty, that wavering in their voice, or that anger perhaps is coming through a lot more, and looking for someone to blame for little things that would ordinarily not be part of how I would find them. And so what I'm noticing is that it's beginning to seep in, and it's beginning to impact on people who ordinarily cope really quite well and with day-to-day stresses. But this is a really different situation. This isn't just, something that we can plan around and work out how to solve it. There's so many unknowns, and it is creating a lot of uncertainty. So firstly, let's acknowledge that there is a lot of uncertainty. So how can we cope when we are faced with this kind of uncertainty that could play out? It may be, over the next few weeks, and that would be lovely. But, let's face it, the reality is that this is possibly something that's going to go on for the next several months and possibly longer. All the things that we've come to enjoy in life and our financial situations that we've built over time, these kinds of things are also uncertain, aren't they? And on top of that, we're confined to home and feeling, perhaps many of you are probably feeling like you're imprisoned and not being able to, go and meet up with friends. And if you are, stop. You shouldn't be. It's one thing that ScoMo said that I actually agree with. As you know, or if you're a current client of mine, you'll know that I stopped last Wednesday doing in-person consultations, and now I'm seeing people only via video conferencing, and that's my way of making sure that I do the best that I can to help prevent the spread of this horrible disease, this virus that's out there, and my way of protecting family and friends and loved ones. So you may be noticing that either yourself or your partner are a little bit more edgy, on edge, and easily triggered, a little bit less tolerant. So just try to acknowledge it, and when you see that, maybe you can empathize with them a little bit more, knowing that that's probably coming from a place of fear, which is the case for most of us on a day-to-day basis. And it's the cumulative impact that I said that makes this experience of this uncertainty, instead of it just being a stressful time, because of the cumulative stresses that people are experiencing, all of us are experiencing, it can be experienced similar to trauma. And so what we might begin to see are some real anxiety type behaviours coming through for people who ordinarily cope pretty well. But because of the cumulative impact, it is more of a trauma situation that we need to acknowledge that this is what we're dealing with. So being a bit mindful of that and understanding that might make you a little bit more accepting of your loved ones when they are getting a little bit agitated, when they are a little bit less tolerant, or perhaps it's yourself and you're watching and you're like, well, that sounds like me. Just recognize that that's what's going on. Maybe you'd like to go and do some meditation, focus on some gratitude. You've got exercises in your manuals, in your programs from me, and have a look on the website for further strategies. A lot of people I've heard, sort of saying things like, oh, it feels like, they're okay, but, this kind of thing always happens to me, or it only happens to me. Just let me acknowledge that this is affecting everyone globally, and I don't think that there's anyone actually around that isn't in some way being impacted on during this terrible time. So at least take some comfort in knowing it's not just you. We're all in this, and we're all struggling and trying to find the best way possible of getting through this time. And I really hope that you'll start to see things a little bit differently, and understand that, yes, even though it may not be impacting on someone financially, it is most likely still impacting on them emotionally and mentally as well. There's no one who's coming through this unscathed, that's for certain. And I am also hearing a lot of people talking about, it's just not fair. They're right. It's not fair. No, none of us asked for this. It's really sad. It's sad that we're separated from the people that we love and that are most important to us, and that we can't just, go and give them a hug. And if we were lucky enough to in the last few weeks, and you feel blessed for that, and focus on how lucky you were that you were able to do that, or catch up with that loved one in the last few weeks. Keep in touch with one another. You see all these things on the TV, and it's right. Keep a check on your neighbours and your loved ones and your friends and family. Give them a phone call, send them a text message, check in, make sure they're going okay. Remind them that you're there, that you're thinking of them, and of what the things that they can still do. If you're not in isolation because you've been exposed to someone or something like that, you can still get out in this beautiful autumn weather that we're experiencing here in Bendigo. Get out there and enjoy some sunshine. I've been out there the last 3 days, going for a walk and getting back into my walking, because I suspended my gym membership a week ago, thinking that there's no way known I'm going to continue that during these uncertain times. I wasn't going to place myself or anyone else at risk, so I've suspended that. The beauty of that is that now they've answered the call, probably with many other people suspending their membership, and I'm really grateful that they've just announced that they're going to be doing some sessions online, and free, by the way. So that's a nice little plus that's come through, so that they're answering the call of, probably many of their customers that may have done something similar to me and also suspended their membership. And we're going to be able to enjoy doing, hopefully, Pilates. I'm not so much sure about the water aerobics, whether that'll be something that we'll be doing online. But hey, we can do some Pilates and some yoga and body balance and that kind of thing through Gurri Wanyara down the road that are going to be providing that online. So I'm excited about that. And maybe there's something similar in your groups. I know a girlfriend of mine that I was talking to yesterday said that her dance classes are actually being provided now online. So there are some people and some businesses that are already putting their creativity hats on and adapting their services to meet the client needs and really reach out. So well done to them. And I'm actually enjoying still being able to provide a level of service to my clients online, which I really like to do. And for most clients, after they get over the initial apprehension that they might initially feel, they're really enjoying the benefits of being able to continue to participate in their sessions online, and we're keeping everyone safe. So that's good, and they're able to continue the progress of their programs. Excellent. Some people worry about how other people might be thinking or wondering about how they're coping. Instead of assuming about what's going on, if you really care about someone, as I said, please reach out to them. Maybe instead of just asking, or letting them know I'm here if you need anything, maybe make a suggestion, because people aren't always that good at asking for help when they need it, or to admitting that they need help. I know that a lot of my clients that come in here are very private about the fact that they're coming in for couples counselling or individual coaching or counselling, and that just tells me that there's still a level of stigma out there in society. So please broach the subject of mental health with people that you care about, community members, that sort of thing, and give something back, give something in a way that you can afford to. And I'm not talking a monetary gift, but something an act or service that you can do that might just make something a little bit better. I really love that people are putting teddy bears in their windows so that people, when they're taking their kids out for a walk, I saw today out walking, there's a beautiful rainbow painted by the kids on one of the windows of a house around the corner. So that was really nice. And I thought, well, isn't that lovely that, the kids will really take some pleasure in seeing that and get excited about that, and makes it a little bit of a bear hunt, as the initial author of the book intended. So see, it's these simple community things that make a big difference to people. So maybe if you put your creativity hat on and let me know some of the things that you're coming up with and share with me, so that I can share that on with my clients and my followers as well. Some people are beginning to see that, and feel like, the world's a dangerous place and that sort of thing. That kind of talk has come through. And to be honest, it really is a little bit dangerous out there at the moment. So please, if you are going out and about your daily lives, be mindful that, it's not appropriate to be touching people, and, keep your distance. So they're saying 1.5 metres. Even if that's enough, I don't even know whether that's enough. There's too many unknowns about this coronavirus. So be mindful about how you talk to your kids about this. Provide them with the opportunity to feel heard and to ask questions. And don't just think that because you've explained it once that's enough. Continue to encourage them to ask you questions and explain it to them in terms that they can understand at their age and stage of development, and use their kind of the language that they will understand. They're going to need lots of reassurance. I think we all need lots of reassurance, and one way that we can find that reassurance for ourselves is planning ahead. Plan worst case scenario. It sounds like a lot of people have been planning for worst case scenario, the old toilet paper scenario. But what else is it that you can plan around to be able to go, well, okay, so what if we are in lockdown for the next, 2 months, 3 months, or possibly even longer? What is it that, I can do to make this, a growth time, a time of growth and achievement? What is it that I can do? Is it an online course? Is it some sessions with me for your marriage and couples counselling? which my couples are continuing to enjoy and sign up to. So that's fantastic that I'm still be able to deliver these services to you directly to you in your home. And it might be a good time to work on your marriage and your relationships. They can only improve. And what are some other projects that might keep you focusing on the good that is in the world, and even allowing yourself time to be bored. Allow yourself time to be bored, and that gets the imagination going. See if you can invent something, perhaps a new game or a new service, a new business perhaps. And what are some of the things that you could do to make that come to fruition? Don't worry about how bizarre it is, just have some fun with it. It doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything, and you just never know what might come of that. So spend some time focusing on the things that you can control, and plan for the things that might be a possibility, but doesn't mean to say that's definite either. Take all the necessary steps to keep your family safe and clean, and washing your hands, and taking all the advice of the health and the government professionals. And one last thing, if you are finding that you are, worrying, a little bit more than you're comfortable with, it's natural that you would be feeling worried. I think everyone's worried at the moment, but allow yourself a reprieve from that. So do some sensible things like minimizing your exposure to social media and media in general on the TV and the news. If you put your TV on, you could leave it on all day, and I'm sure you could watch something about the coronavirus, and only making you feel even more and more anxious focusing on it the whole day. When we're talking about these kinds of things, we're talking about the length of time that we're exposed to these discussions. So allow yourself some reprieve. Allow yourself to go, okay, well, I'm going to get the updates for the first 10 or 15 minutes in the morning, so I know what's going on, what updates there are, what more restrictions there might be, so I can comply with that and keep my family safe. And then again in the afternoon, in case there's been any further updates during the day. Anything more than that, you subjecting yourself to increased exposure to these stressful times and this cumulative stress, which can be, the impact can be experienced like trauma. So allow yourself some space from it. Don't spend all of your day focusing on this situation that is can feel like it's out of control, and leave people feeling like they're out of control. So you can control how much exposure you have to the media. Shut it off. Turn off your computer. Turn off your social media. Check your emails once a day. You don't need to be checking your emails regularly, unless, of course, you're still working and you're working from home. Check your work emails. If they're about coronavirus, things in your workplace that you need to know about, well and good. But for the most part, limit your exposure to the media and the hype around all of this, because you need to give yourself some space. Any stressful situation, like when you knock off work during the day, it's really good to get home at night, isn't it? In a normal situation. Previously, when you're going to work and you go off to work during the day, it might be quite stressful. And at the end of the day, you hopefully look forward to coming home to your family and having a nice nurturing environment to be in. It's a similar situation to the coronavirus. Spend a limited amount of time, get your updates, and then step outside of that, and then come home, and take that break from being in it. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is, so I talked about, spending some time checking media and social media a couple of times a day. You don't need to be listening to the coronavirus news and updates every minute of the day. So limit your exposure to that. The other thing that I want you to do is set yourself a time of day. For example, you might choose 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and 2 o'clock in the afternoon is your time to do your worrying about the impact of coronavirus on you and your family and friends and community, and allow yourself that time to worry and just see what happens. It's a little experiment, and I want to hear feedback on what happens. So set yourself a challenge to do that for the next 7 days or so, and then give me some feedback on what you notice happens. So set a time for you that works for you, that you go, okay, that's the time of day, and I'm going to spend 15 minutes at that time every single day, and that's the time that I'm going to allow myself to worry about this. And the rest of the time throughout my day, I'm free not to have to worry, because I know that I've got that time set aside to do my worrying. Okay, so see what happens, and I look forward to hearing some feedback from you. Thanks. Bye for now.